Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Petty Officer Adam Schultz. Today marks the 75th anniversary of the Battle of Kujin, also known as the Battle of the Broken Bridge, which took place in the opening months of the Korean War. This action, fought by the 3rd Battalion Royal Australian Regiment 3RAR, occurred on the 25th and 26th of October 1950. The North Korean invasion of South Korea in June 1950 had nearly succeeded in uniting the country under communist rule, but a United Nations multinational force under US command had first halted and then reversed the tide of the invasion. By early October, South Korean and UN forces had reclaimed the lost territory and were back on the 38th parallel. In early October, UN forces advanced into North Korea, capturing Pyongyang on the 19th. 3RAR fought its first battle in an apple orchard north of the capital 3 days later, before continuing their advance. 3RAR reached the Taryong River near the town of Kujin on the 25th of October. They encountered a major obstacle, a 300-metre concrete bridge, one span of which had been destroyed by retreating North Korean forces. Rather than halt their advance, the Australians improvised. The Battle of the Broken Bridge would come at a cost of 8 Australians who were killed and a further 22 wounded. Soon we will hear the story of one Australian soldier who died there. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Return and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. If you're able, you may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 100 3,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Stanley John Wilkinson. Stanley Wilkinson was born in Hobart on the 12th of January 1929, one of 6 children born to Gordon and Phyllis Wilkinson. Known as Blue, Stanley grew up in Sorrel, northeast of Hobart, where he attended the local public school. By the mid-1940s, Wilkinson was living in the Sydney suburb of Crow's Nest with his father and working as a labourer. He joined the newly formed Australian Regular Army, enlisting on the 25th of August 1948, signing on for 6 years. Private Wilkinson was sent to Japan in February 1949 and was taken on strength of the 3rd Battalion, the Royal Australian Regiment, the next month, joining 8 Platoon, C Company. After years of tension, the Korean War began on the 25th of June 1950, when the Northern Korean People's Army invaded South Korea in a coordinated attack along the 38th parallel, the line dividing communist North Korea from the Republic of Korea in the south. 3RAR was committed to the war, but remained in Japan while it was brought up to fighting strength by volunteers. The men finally sailed from Kure on the 27th of September, arriving at Pusan, and being attached to the British 27th Infantry Brigade. After a few weeks of clearing patrols, 3RAR moved to the 38th parallel to take part in the invasion of North Korea, which began on the 10th of October. Wilkinson took part in his first battle on the 22nd of October in an apple orchard northwest of Pyongyang. C Company, riding on US Sherman tanks, was fired upon by North Korean soldiers. The Australians immediately went on the offensive. Wilkinson's platoon was one of 2 tasked with clearing the apple orchard and taking the high ground. The platoons encountered enemy bunkers, but captured their objectives in under 20 minutes with minor casualties, despite heavy close quarters fighting. The entire battle lasted a matter of hours. 3RAR had routed a North Korean regiment. 7 Australians were wounded, with some 150 North Koreans killed and 239 captured. The advance continued. 3 days later, 3RAR reached the Taeyong River near the town of Kujin, only to find that a span of the bridge crossing the river had been destroyed by retreating North Koreans. Rather than halt the advance, the Australian troops used improvised ladders to climb the debris. A small force crossed the river and located 2 companies of North Korean troops dug in. That night, A and B companies were sent across the river and dug in unopposed. Around 7:30 p.m, however, North Korean troops attacked. The battle raged throughout the night. When North Korean T-34 tanks appeared in the morning, the situation looked dire. The tanks were driven off with anti-armour rocket fire. After an airstrike, C Company crossed the Taeyong River and took up positions forward of A Company. As the fighting continued, Private Wilkinson was shot and killed by a sniper. He was 21 years old. The battle cost 3 RAR 7 men killed in action and 23 wounded, one of whom died from his wounds that day. Wilkinson and his fallen comrades were laid to rest in a Christian church in Pak Chon. In 1955, Wilkinson's remains and those of other UN soldiers were reinterred in the United Nations Cemetery at Pusan. His older brother, William, went on to serve with 1 RAR in Korea during the armistice. Stanley Wilkinson's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among the 340 Australians who died as a result of their service during the Korean War. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Stanley John Wilkinson, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we shall remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today, and we wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.